And one thing that I was doing earlier as I was going through here and I was like masking out certain areas, you can go through and you can mask. Again, you can hold down Control Alt and you can sharpen that mask up, and you can Control Tap and you can fuzz it out. Control Tap to invert that, and then hit W, and you can, of course, you can push this in or push this out, or you can even go into your deformation menu and inflate and deflate along your surface normal. Another thing you can do to consider is hold down Alt and tap to find that surface normal, and you can use your rotation to kind of give you a little bit of a fall off. So control drag again to reDynamesh, and now you have like a little inset little metal piece in there, kind of a light weighting technique. Of course, you can use booleans for that, or even if you go into your Spotlight, you'll see little alphas in here. So if you go to my YouTube channel and do Spotlight modeling, there's ways you can turn those alphas into actual geometry for booleans or otherwise. Of course, you can also, if you alt tap this head here, go into solo mode, you can also just go through here and, like, if you wanted to pop this piece off, you can go through here and mask out this entire piece. Just hold down Control, and we're just using mask pin. This is a fairly complex shape, so let's go ahead and just kind of mask this whole area out a little bit quickly, and then we'll hold down Control Alt and we'll tighten that mask up, and then we'll go back through with Control, mask this in a little bit here. Now there is some masking you can do where you can go into your depth here and you can change your depth mask, and you can kind of like pull this down, and that'll allow you to kind of mask up to an edge. Or is it the interior edge? Oh, I'm sorry. Turn off depth mask. Hold down Control, turn on depth mask, and if you pull this top one down, that'll allow you to kind of mask on interior edges. And if you take this bottom one up, you can go through here and that'll mask these top edges. It'll kind of stop along that top edge, as well as if you hold down Control and turn on backface masking, which is under auto masking here, you can also turn the camera, so if it can't see that geometry, it'll completely stop. So that's another way you can kind of control. I can go up to that edge and that'll go ahead and stop it. So a couple different ways to control your masking. But in this case, what we're kind of doing is just going through here and just holding down Control Alt and unmasking, and holding down Control and masking. Let's go ahead and unmask this here. Again, fairly complex shape. Once you have that about figured out, what we can do is, instead of hitting Control W, if you hit Control W now, it's just going to polygroup those polygons. You can see it's kind of aliased along the edges. Sometimes you can go in here to Geometry, Edge Loop. There's Edge Loop Mask Border. Oh, we have subdivision level history here. I forgot I did that earlier. You can go Edge Loop Mask Border, and that will allow you to kind of, this is high enough resolution to where it's not doing a great job, but it'll kind of make this line a little bit smoother. You can also smooth that line out if you go in here to, say, masking, mask your mask by feature groups. You can turn the rest of these two off here. That'll go ahead and mask your line out, and then Control Tap to invert that. In fact, even at this point, you can Control Tap to blur that line, then Control Tap, Alt Tap to invert that, or to sharpen that up a little bit. And you can do an inflate or a deflate if you wanted to do kind of a, I mean, in this case, it's kind of a janky line around there, but it's another option for you. But like I was saying before, you can mask by features groups. And then, you know what, let's do a grow mask, and then Control Alt, Control Tap to invert that mask. And then through here, we can go through and do a deformation, polish by features, open circle. And we can kind of just smooth that line out a little bit. Now at this point, you could do some interesting stuff. For instance, you can go to stroke, and you can do frame mesh by your polygroup border, and that'll put a frame around it. And then you go to brush curve, say curve tube, and you could do this with any insert mesh brush. We're just going to use this for example. We're going to turn off X symmetry. We're going to tap this line, and that's going to put a tube along here. So if I go through here and I do a split mask points, and we move this down below and we make this subtractive, and then we turn on LiBoolean, you're going to see, oops, sorry, turn on LiBoolean, you're going to see that's going to cut a line through here. So that's another way you can kind of do a quick Boolean cut with your line. Of course, we can inflate and we can deflate that line. Even on here, we could do a polish by features and kind of smooth that line out a little bit. So that's kind of an interesting way to kind of go through and change that stuff. But anyway, let's go ahead and delete that. Back to our head here. What I'm really looking to do is chop this piece into its own model here. So I'm going to hold down Control Shift and isolate it. And we're going to do a geometry subtool, split hidden. And then I'm going to go down here to mask by feature open border, and that's going to mask that border edge. Control Tap to invert that. Hold down, hit W, and then just pull this out. Kind of give it a little bit of thickness here. And now if you Control drag again, that'll go ahead and close those holes. And now you have this as its own individual piece. And then we Alt Tap this piece here. Let's go ahead and turn off Polypaint so we can see a little better. When we pulled this piece off, it actually closed that hole for us when we Dynameshed. You don't have to do that. In fact, let's undo that. Because yeah, when this closes the hole, it's going to close actually through that open border there. So let's do this. Let's hit W, and we'll pull out a line here. Control drag to unmask. Let's go down here to display properties and hit double. And we can even try this. Let's hit B, C, curve bridge, and hold down shift. And first we need to go up here to stroke, and we need to make sure that frame border is available. So we hold down shift, and it'll frame that border, and then drag up here and hold down shift. It'll frame that border, and it'll put a polygroup polygons in between here, and that didn't work out so well. I mean, it did okay. We can actually do a quick, we can just tap off to get rid of that curve, and then do a quick mirror and weld. And it didn't do the most beautiful job, but it kind of did what I was looking for, so I guess we can leave that. Now we'll alt tap this, this big shape here. Now if we want this to be its own shape, this little round piece here, we can do a quick auto groups, and then isolate that, and then go ahead and do another subtool split hidden. And again, you can do a quick mask by border, control tap to invert that, go ahead and pull out some thickness here, control drag again. That'll make it a nice solid piece. And again, this is just a concept piece. It's not like I went through and rebuilt this or anything fancy. All it is just some geometry. So we can go here and change the resolution up a little bit, hit X to go across X symmetry, maybe smooth these edges out a little, and then go from there, do a quick mirror and weld, because that wasn't a mirrored operation. And then even in here, just go through here and maybe smooth these pieces out, and we can just Dynamesh this result as well. So again, we're in concept mode. We're not really worried too much about like rebuilding this as beautiful sub-D meshes or anything like that. So go through here, kind of make it work. And at any time you can rebuild these however you'd like, but we're just not too interested in that yet. So now I've got this piece here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do mask by features, open border, control tap to invert that mask. Hit W. I'm going to pull in a little bit, and we'll go through here. Let's go to, if you have X symmetry turned on, hit X to turn it off. Go to unmask mesh center, and we'll just kind of scale these towards the middle a little bit, and then we'll hold down Alt and kind of aim it towards that direction of the head, and we'll kind of pull this in. Control drag again. That'll go ahead and close that hole for us. We turn X symmetry back on, do a quick geometry modify topology mirror and weld, and then now we can go through here, kind of clean up these edges a little bit. And now we have this piece here, we have this middle piece here, and kind of move this around a little bit maybe. I have this piece here. So that's another way you can kind of split complex objects out. Let's go ahead and make sure polypane is off so we can see what's selected here. So you can see how this is its own piece now, and this is its own piece, and this is its own piece right here in the middle. But again, it's kind of up to you how deep you want to go with like rebuilding stuff and making sub-D surfaces, or if you just want to stay kind of concept-y and be able to kind of push these things along, and then like maybe go into solo mode, do a little bit of cleanup with your H-polish brush, maybe go in here with your clip brush, and kind of go to the side here and maybe put a little, Alt tap twice, put a little thumb grip on there, and then maybe even on this thing. We could turn off X symmetry, we could mask this entire side. And then from this side here, we can go through and we can maybe do a alternating little grip on this side, and then control drag, and then do a quick mirror and weld across the X-axis, and you can kind of play those up. Or turn on X symmetry, you can go through here and you can mask this side out, control tap, and then just grab this side here and just kind of maybe pull those out into a little fitted piece here.